It was supposed to be the worst night of my life, and honestly it started that way. My car broke down in the middle of a pouring New York storm, and the only shelter I could find was a rundown bar that smelled like old whiskey and lost dreams. That's where I met her. Or maybe I should say that's where she stared at me like she wanted to burn me alive or save me, I couldn't tell which. She was sitting in the far corner, a glass of bourbon in her hand, eyes so sharp they looked like they could cut through the lies I'd been telling myself for years. Her black leather jacket was soaked, her hair plastered to her face, and she had the kind of beauty that wasn't trying to be beautiful, it just was. But what struck me wasn't her looks. It was the way she looked like she'd already lost everything, and yet she was still standing. I hated her instantly. And maybe that hate was just me recognizing something in her I didn't want to admit about myself. "Storm's a bitch," she said when I slid onto the bar stool next to her. Her voice was low, rough, but it carried this strange softness underneath, like a song played on a broken guitar. I laughed, but it wasn't funny. Yeah, story of my life. That night should have ended with two strangers sitting in silence, waiting out the rain. But she asked me one question that shattered the wall I'd been building for years. "Who broke you?" I nearly choked on my drink. No one asks that. People ask what you do, where you're from, who you're dating, but not that. And I should have lied. I should have told her to mind her own damn business. But instead I told her the truth. A woman I loved more than myself had walked away, leaving me with nothing but silence and a bed that felt like a grave. Her eyes softened for just a second, and I swear the storm outside got quieter. "Same," she whispered. That was the beginning of something I couldn't name yet. We didn't fall into each other's arms right away. No, we clashed. She was stubborn, angry, reckless. I was cautious, scared, closed off. But life, in its cruel sense of humor, kept throwing us together. We lived in the same neighborhood, crossed paths at the grocery store, ended up on the same subway late at night. And every time the air between us felt heavier, charged, like the city itself was pushing us toward each other. She had this way of getting under my skin. She teased me, challenged me, called me out when I tried to hide. I hated it and needed it. Because while I was busy pretending I was fine, she was peeling me open layer by painful layer. One night, weeks later, we ended up back at that same bar. She was drunk, laughing too loud, but her eyes, God, her eyes were filled with so much sorrow it made my chest ache. She told me about the woman she'd loved, how she had built her whole life around her, only to wake up one day to an empty closet and a goodbye note that didn't explain anything. "I swore I'd never let anyone close again," she said, her voice breaking. "But then you walked in that night looking just as fucked up as me. And I thought, hell, maybe broken people deserve each other." I didn't kiss her then. I wanted to more than I've ever wanted anything. But I was terrified. Terrified of what it would mean, terrified of being left again. So instead I reached for her hand, and for the first time in months she didn't pull away. It wasn't easy. We fought. We tested each other. She'd disappear for days and I'd pretend I didn't care, but inside it tore me apart. I accused her of not knowing what she wanted. She accused me of being too afraid to live. And maybe we were both right. But every time we broke apart, we found our way back. Because somewhere between the fights and the silences, between the pain and the laughter, we became each other's lifeline. One night, standing on her rooftop with the city glittering below us, she finally said the words I'd been aching to hear. "You scare the hell out of me," she admitted. "But losing you scares me more." And before I could stop myself, I kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't sweet. It was messy and desperate, like two people clawing their way out of the dark. But in that moment, I realized something terrifying and beautiful. She wasn't just broken. She was breaking me open too, and maybe that was exactly what I needed. The kiss changed everything and nothing, all at once. We didn't magically become whole. We didn't suddenly erase the scars of our pasts. But in that instant, under the cold night sky, our pain collided and softened into something new. For the first time in years, I felt alive. And terrified. The days that followed were chaos wrapped in tenderness. She'd show up at my apartment at midnight with takeout and a crooked smile, and I'd pretend to be annoyed even as my chest ached with joy. Sometimes she'd wake up screaming from nightmares, and I'd hold her until her breathing slowed, whispering that I wasn't going anywhere. Other times I'd find myself crying in her arms without even knowing why, and she'd stroke my hair in silence, as if she understood every unspoken word. It wasn't perfect. God, it was far from it. There were nights she disappeared, chasing ghosts in dimly lit bars, and I thought she was gone for good. There were mornings when I pushed her away, convinced I didn't deserve the warmth in her eyes. We kept circling around the same fear, that we were too broken to build something lasting. But love, real love, isn't about being unbroken. It's about being brave enough to stay, even when the cracks show. The turning point came on a rainy afternoon in Brooklyn. We'd been fighting again. She accused me of holding back, of never fully letting her in. I accused her of running every time things got hard. My words were sharp, hers sharper. And then she slammed the door, leaving me alone with nothing but the echo of her absence. Hours passed. The rain hammered the windows. I told myself I didn't care if she came back. But when midnight arrived and there was still no sign of her, my chest caved in. That's when I realized the truth. Losing her would destroy me more than the fear of loving her ever could. I ran. Through wet streets and flashing lights I searched for her, retracing every step I thought she might have taken. Finally, I found her in the same bar where it all began, sitting alone with a glass she hadn't touched. Her face was pale, her eyes red, and when she looked at me, I saw not anger but exhaustion. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. I didn't care. I slid into the seat across from her and took her trembling hands into mine. "I should have told you this a long time ago," I said, my voice cracking. "I'm scared every second I'm with you. But I'm even more terrified of losing you. And if being with you means breaking over and over again until we figure it out, then break me. Because I don't want anyone else." For a long moment she just stared at me. Then slowly, her lips curved into the softest, saddest smile I'd ever seen. "You don't know how long I've been waiting to hear that." That night something shifted. Not the kind of shift that fixes everything, but the kind that plants roots where there was only rubble before. We walked home together, soaked to the bone, laughing like fools who had finally stopped running from themselves. From that day on we chose each other every messy, complicated, beautiful day. She taught me how to live in the moment, how to laugh too loud and kiss without worrying who was watching. I taught her how to trust again, how to believe that love doesn't always end with a slammed door. We built a life from scrap-shared coffee mugs, Sunday morning records, rooftop sunsets that tasted like promises. And little by little, the wounds we carried didn't vanish, but they stopped defining us. Months later, we stood on that same rooftop where I first kissed her. The city stretched out below us, glowing like 1,000 second chances. She slipped her hand into mine and said, "Do you realize what we've done? We took all the broken pieces and turned them into something beautiful." I looked at her, the woman I once thought was too shattered to love, the woman who had seen every jagged part of me and stayed anyway, and I finally understood. Healing doesn't come from pretending you're not broken. It comes from finding someone who loves you enough to stay while you piece yourself back together. "I thought I was stuck with a broken woman," I whispered, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "But the truth is you healed me. You changed everything." She smiled, and in her eyes I saw the reflection of everything I thought I'd lost. Hope, love, a future worth fighting for. And for the first time in forever I wasn't afraid. We weren't perfect. We never would be. But we were ours. And that was enough. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.